Probably got a few more months' work to do on that before we can come back with something on that matter. We are also looking at our measures in the statement of intent, just to see that they do actually reflect what we do. And I think we've probably got a bit of work to do on those to look at as some amended measures in terms of just reflecting in terms of the work that RFA does.
In terms of international best practice or other measures, are you exploring those as well?
Yes, I mean there has been some work done recent times on just measuring public value, public good, and we're having a look at that as part of whether we can sort of include that as part of the RFA measures.
Mr. Chairman, I just draw attention to the fact that I think RFA are quite modest about many of the initiatives that they have that are contributing greatly to the quality of life for Aucklanders. But I think that this is something we should explore, not just for RFA but for others, so that there has to be a better form of measuring that public good component.
Thank you, gentlemen. There's a positive bouquet at the end there for you. Another one. So thank you for attending. Merry Christmas.
Thanks.
Thank you, and the same to you, folks.
Yep.
Right, Panuku, I apologise to Watercare for slipping behind, but it's hard to recover. So just remind councillors again on necessary questions. Welcome. We need some introductions this time, I believe.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I have great pleasure in introducing Roger McDonald, who is our new Chief Executive, to the Finance and Performance Committee and to all the councillors that are here. I note the Mayor is here, but we are going to see him tomorrow when you'll get a chance to talk to Roger at some length. Roger comes with an international background, for those that don't know, in urban regeneration, major project work, and he's passionate about sustainability. I think we are very lucky to have secured Roger. He arrived 2 weeks ago. The day after he arrived, he had his first board meeting. He has his second board meeting tomorrow, and he hasn't stopped running yet to catch up. So we are very pleased to have him here today. What we will do, Roger will talk about one or two highlights of the last quarter for you, and Carl Gosby, our CFO, will talk about quickly the financial matters, and we're happy to take questions. Roger.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Chairman, councillors, the press and members of the public. It is a great privilege and honour for me to be here to represent Panuku in what is an extraordinary opportunity and potentially one of the best prospects going forward for Auckland. One of the things that I'm absolutely passionate about is how we deliver true sustainable, that's economically sustainable, regeneration. How we take the lessons learnt from other parts of the world and how we can embrace those into the wider picture of Auckland and truly deliver regeneration. That's not just about in the town centres and here in the city, but also the wider region, and actually focusing on how we deliver our business and how we work together, not only with council, with the statutory Maori boards, with the local boards, aligning ourselves to the ratepayers to make sure that we are seen and deliver value across all aspects of this business. What I'd like to do is just take you through a few highlights of projects that have been successfully delivered and projects that are currently in the pipeline, and then talk about some of the financial highlights for the last year. First slide refers to housing for the older people. This is an area which, from my perspective, I'm totally embraced and passionate about. Part of regeneration is about delivering success for all elements of the community, not only those that are disadvantaged, but also for all aspects, to make sure that we deliver this success and we drive that value through on behalf of the ratepayers. Panuca's responsibility is that we have a business model with the Selwyn Foundation, and we are currently developing 63 villages. Now, a number of these villages have got old historic stock. Some of these properties are in very poor condition, and some of them are totally unfit for habitation today. There's a program running in parallel to do some refresh, some refurbishment, and ultimately we have to take ownership of this stock and make sure that we deliver the value proposition back to the public. Currently, we are committed to replacing the stock with the existing numbers, which effectively would deliver 1,452 units. That's the minimum requirement within the plan in terms of units that we will redeliver. Our aspirations are obviously to exceed this by a very high number. I've personally inspected some of this stock. I've been inside some of these properties, and I have spoken to a number of the elderly people that are currently embedded there today. And the challenge is enormous. But collectively, we can go forward with a response, and we can really make a difference. On the Civic Administration Building, in September, Mayor Len Brown announced plans for this iconic Civic Administration Building in the Atea Square. Developers Tuera Group will restore the Category A heritage building. And this is a fantastic opportunity how regeneration works at local level. Taking a building that's really outlived its natural use, finding a commercially sustainable solution to bring the building back into operation. And we're not talking about demolishing the building. We're talking about reinvigorating it, refurbishing it, and regenerating it, together with the associated square, and building with that residential tower and potentially a boutique facility, together with the public space areas. So in essence, on a small scale, bringing that building back to life and back for community benefits. Building is expected to start, all things being equal, in the spring of next year. Obviously, we are in a commercially sensitive period at the moment because we have not completed contracts, and therefore there is a process of technical due diligence going into place at the moment. Aylesbury Waterfront Theatre, phenomenal piece of success, and everybody who's been associated with the project should be congratulated. This is a real sense of place, a facility where Panuku were responsible for putting the framework together, for helping to deliver the vision as part of the wider waterfront and Wynyard Quarter development, and ultimately giving back to the public a space which will be there for generations to come to enjoy and to enjoy the pleasures of what's actually offered there. As many of you will be aware, Billy Elliot has recently been performing there in terms of his first show, and I hope it's as exciting as it was when it was launched in other parts of the world. The Mason Brothers commercial building has just opened, and while work continues, the two Willis Bond residential complexes, together with another commercial building and the Park Hyatt, will all be seen to come forward, and I'm sure everybody's had a sense of what's happening on the site there. In terms of engaging in the wider audience perspective, the Water Edge Symposium was a phenomenal success. It was launched in November and attended by 23 representatives from 16 different cities. Sadly, on a personal basis, I was unable to attend, but the feedback that we've received to date has been exceptional. It has really taken the opportunity not only to put Auckland on the map, but to raise the profile of what regeneration is truly about, and to focus on Onehunga and Manukau Harbour, and really use those as workshop projects so that we can take some of the lessons learned out of that and incorporate them in the way that we move forward. Manukau Central, working closely with the Crown to redevelop this metropolitan centre. The framework plan is going to the Panuku board tomorrow for approval. There are a number of first project leads on this. Putney Way streetscape upgrade next to the Auckland Transportation new bus station. The Barracliff housing development, and I'm sure that will be a phenomenal project as we move forward. It's a project where we've engaged very, very closely with the iwi groups. There's been a series of meetings. I've also personally chaired a workshop on that project, and we will obviously keep you advised of progress as we move forward. And the Punanau Stream initiatives to ensure this is the backbone of the project. Again, I've taken the opportunity in the last 2 weeks to see these projects and to get a real sense of some of the challenges we're facing. This is a fantastic piece of public realm if we actually engage with it properly and we deliver it. At the moment, it's heavily congested with everything from trolleys to all sorts of other debris. But the opportunity here is to make a significant difference and an impact for the community. One of the last highlights in terms of the programme for this afternoon is to look at the Onehunga Town Centre and Port Regeneration Project. This is a project that Panuku has been involved on for some considerable time. We've worked through a framework discussion on this proposal. We've delivered a high-level project plan. And obviously, as many of you will be aware, this is now also engaging with the major transportation hubs to enable the east-west link. There's been a series of workshops that have run so far, and I'm delighted to report that we're making incredibly good progress. One of the great challenges when you're regenerating an area is how to truly integrate the infrastructure to the physical regeneration, the built form of the environment we're looking to take ownership of. Here's a classic example where, as part of the wider initiative, NZTA will be taking ownership of the port to ensure that we can actually get the best connectivity for the organisation and for the wider community. Panuku still has our eyes firmly fixed on getting the port back as part of that regeneration programme. But ultimately, we have to engage to make sure that the infrastructure is fully supported. On the workshops we've delivered so far, we've looked at ways in which we can integrate the waterfront with the overall town centre redevelopment and create a real sense of place. Because one of the challenges with the east-west link is it naturally forms a barrier between the water and the community. What we're looking at is ways that we can bridge that and bring that space back into a sense of place for the overall community.
Thank you, Roger.
What I'd like to do is just hand over to our CFO, just to take you through the high-level numbers in the report.
Excuse me. Thank you, Roger. As the report says, at the end of September, we were looking at a 1.6 million forecast positive variance for the year end. I'm pleased to say that's actually crept up to 2 million as at the end of November. And that's for the properties that Panuku own and the operations of Panuku. The $1.5 billion worth of assets that Panuku manage on behalf of council will actually be returning a forecast 1 million additional revenue as well. And that mostly comes from the Greenmount landfill, which was planned to have closed at the end of last financial year, but has been operating up to the end of December. So that's a quick snapshot of the operational numbers. On the capital numbers, projects are proceeding. However, there does look to be a little bit of a deferral coming in terms of some of the commercial projects, and in particular, as Roger mentioned earlier, the Onehunga Wharf, where that was planned to be purchased earlier this year, looks like it may not be purchased this year at all. So that capital expenditure will be released back through the Strategic Development Fund.